There's good paper, there's bad paper, and there's prison paper.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Creating Self-Care Plans podcast. My name is Lauren and I'm joined today by my co-host, my little sister, Lex. Hello. Since this is the very first episode of this podcast and we are very aware that you guys might not know who the heck we are, why you should listen to us, why you should trust us to talk about self-care things, let us give you a brief explanation of who we are and a little bit of our self-care journey. So Lex, if you want to start.
Let's see, my self-care journey, I'm actually going through it right now. I'm going through a transition in my life. I just got out of the military, and it's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, at least mentally. Physically I'm fine, I'm doing great. It's just a complete change in lifestyle, so I'm going through a lot of stresses with that, and then I'm going back to school. I haven't gone to college in 10 years, so there's that. I think that my main experience maybe for the show is the fact that I'm living through it now. And I've gone through, self-care techniques in the past, and I'm like reliving them now. Like I'm going back and thinking, okay, what did I used to do for this? And I try doing that and stuff like that. So, that's basically it. I'm no pro or anything. I'm just like everybody else. So
Yeah, we are not professionals. We are not licensed medical professionals over here. Everything that we will be sharing is just coming from our own experiences and our own, basically what we've gone through personally. So for myself, I am a mom of four. My husband works in a job that takes him away from home frequently. So I have spent many years off and on since having my oldest. He just turned 17. I've had many years, like if you add it all up, of solo parenting is what I call it, where my husband was away working somewhere in another state and I was home basically being like the sole caregiver and all the things for my kids. And after, I think the first time that my husband was gone for like a really, really long time, it was like a 2.5 year period where he was away. And as that ended, I was at a point where I was like, I call it my lowest point, my rock bottom. And that was when, for me, and that was in 2016, I realized that I can't continue to just do what I was doing as far as living just my normal life with the kids and not taking care of myself, because it was starting to, the stress of everything of being the sole person was starting to manifest as physical symptoms in my body, and it was just not fun. And once I connected the dots and realized that the pains that I was having, because I went to a ton of doctors and stuff to be like, what's going on? And they couldn't find anything physically wrong. I connected the dots and realized that what was happening to me was the result of basically chronic stress and my body just constantly being in this turned on position, so to speak. And I needed to take the reins back and learn techniques to cope better with it, and basically teach myself strategies to turn that light switch off so that I can have periods of time where it's turned off and I'm not constantly going. So fast forward to right now, I definitely feel like I'm in a place where I'm much calmer and more chill. And this podcast, I feel like, is an extension of what I've already been doing on my YouTube channel, where I review planners and journals and try and kind of share things that I think would help people on their self-care journey. Because I've found in the last 2 years, I think it was in early 2021, I found the planning community and I started using a planner again and really was able to kind of find one last piece, so to speak, in my whole journey of trying to calm down, because I feel like with planning and sitting down every week, and figuring out, okay, what's going to happen this week. It's really helped my anxiety tremendously, and it's really helped me to live like more in the moment and not think so much and stress so much, so to speak, about all the things that are supposed to be happening. Because the action of just sitting down and writing all that stuff out and looking at my week at like a high level, it's retrained my brain to be like, oh, wait a minute, you have a lot of time to like get this stuff done. And just because you've got this, one appointment, it's not like in my head before, like one appointment would make it feel like my entire week, for whatever reason, was like gonna get sucked up. And it sounds really weird.
No, I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've totally freaked out about something like that before. Like, wait, you want to do what? When? Ugh, oh my God, are you serious?
And exactly.
Yeah, that happened to me all the time. Time management for me, at least whenever my last assignment in the Marine Corps, time management helped me so much, and I learned how to manage my time to deal with the demands of the job, and it helped tremendously. I didn't use a planner. I had like a book that I just kind of wrote stuff down, like stuff that I need to do, and it just kind of piled on throughout whatever, and I would have due dates on there. But it's always on my to-do list for the day. Just, I guess, because it just worked. Like, it just worked out that way for me. I don't know how that worked now, because if I were to have a million things on one day for my to-do list, like today, I would freak out, because now I have one, like with my school stuff all spread out throughout the week, but I used to do it one day at a time, and that would keep me on track. I don't know how I did that, but I mean, it saved me.
Yeah.
Like, stress-wise,
I mean,
it saved my life.
There's a lot of people that they rely on just like a daily planner and just like a daily to-do list and take it one day at a time. But for me, I kind of need both sometimes. I used to need the daily planner a little bit more frequently, but lately in the last like couple of weeks, I've kind of not really needed the daily planner. Only like once in a while when I feel like there's a lot of things like I need to do today, then I like will write it all down. But for the most part, I've been doing really good with just needing to have like the week written out, and then I look at it at the beginning of the day or right before bed to make sure like I know what's happening, especially because of the kids, they have all these different schedules and events, and it's like, okay, who's going to be where? Does anybody need to get picked up? and that sort of thing.
It's funny that you say that you have to like look at like what's going on, like especially for the kids and stuff, because today's Tuesday, and today's the day that in the morning I come in here and I look at my planner, and I haven't looked at it yet, and it is killing me.
Oh no.
I'm like, I don't know what I have for the week, and I'm sitting here doing a podcast. What am I doing?
I know. Well, okay, so yesterday
that's what I'm thinking.
Usually I do my plan for the week like the Thursday before the week. That way I know before I even get into the weekend like what next week looks like. And I'm not waiting until the very last minute.
Because I wait.
Yesterday I ended up doing it.
I work better under pressure.
I do it. It's fine. Like sometimes I did it yesterday at the end of the day. And at one point my 13-year-old was asking me questions about the schedule for the week for soccer. And I'm like, I don't know. I haven't even looked at it yet. And so at the end of the day, I'm looking at it and I'm like laying it all out. And I finally was like, okay, now I can like feel a little bit more like put together, because once I reached that point where I'm like, okay, it's getting way too close, and like I literally know nothing about what's happening. Yesterday I thought my son was at soccer practice, and it turned out he was at a soccer game, and I'm like looking at the clock and I'm like, he should have been back by practice by now. And then I look where his location is and he's like way far away. I'm like, oh wait a minute, what? Oh my gosh.
I would have freaked out. Oh my God. I don't have kids, but I think that would have freaked me out.
No.
Like, what are you doing over there?
Yeah, I did for a second, and then I was like, wait a minute. No, and then I looked at the schedule.
I'm always finding reasons not to have kids. Like, see, this is another reason why I don't want to have kids. Because if I think he's somewhere and I see his location, he's somewhere else, I don't know how I would react, and that scares me.
Mini panic. Okay, so this morning was it. Okay, we're recording this podcast. It is November the 14th, and Aaron Condon just started their EC Insider Black Friday sale. And so I was doing that this morning, and I don't know if I mean, I like having the earlier Black Friday sales, but at the same time I kind of don't. I don't know. How do you feel? Like, have you noticed like over the years that like companies have started like having their sales
It's
like
sooner
early?
and sooner and sooner. Yep.
It's like, can we just stop calling it Black Friday and just call it Black November? Because that's really what it is.
Yeah. Everybody's doing their sales earlier and earlier, and it's not even Thanksgiving yet.
I feel like it makes it, yeah.
And then that's it, you know?
Right.
What the heck?
It's all I feel like
November now.
Yeah. I feel like it makes
that stresses me out, to be honest.
I was about to say, I feel like it makes it more stressful.
All these sales going on, like,
and then you have to keep track.
Off here. Oh, that's just ridiculous. I don't do Black Friday stuff. I mean, I may order something online if I want to. I don't know. I'm not like a Black Friday kind of shopper. I'm actually not really a shopper in general, now that I think about it. So but watching all the ads, it's just, it's too much. Calm down. Stop it. We get it. Everything's on sale. Jeez.
Yeah. My email inbox starts getting flooded this time of year. It's just everybody just starts posting everything. And I'm just like, delete, 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 delete.
That's when I start unsubscribing to stuff.
Oh, actually,
unsubscribe.
This is the time of year where sometimes one of those companies that you signed up for a long time ago and you don't remember, and they don't usually send emails. All of a sudden, they send you a Black Friday sale, and you're like, "Who are you?" Mm-hmm. Unsubscribe. Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, I forgot I bought those tickets.
Yeah, exactly. It makes it completely stressful. And then in the planning community, there's just so many different sales and options, and I know a lot of people, because planners can be pretty expensive in like the luxury planning community space, like Aaron Condren planners and Plum Paper planners, the ones that have like really good quality paper, Moxie Life. Those of us who are paper snobs, once you try using really good paper, you can't go back. I promise. So
yeah,
those planners
with good paper and bad paper and cheap paper. Oh my God, that reminds me of something. My friend one day.
What?
She said, I'll never forget something that her dad told her. And he said, there's good coffee, there's bad coffee, and then there's prison coffee.
Oh my goodness.
Same thing with the paper. There's good paper, there's bad paper, and there's prison paper.
Oh, I'm going to start using that prison paper word.
There's a difference. Like,
in my reviews,
paper.
In my, if I review something, paper. The paper's really horrible, I'll be like, oh, this is like prison paper. Oh, that's funny. Actually, I think in the planning community, we kind of, our prison paper is like copy paper. If somebody says it's like copy paper, we're kind of like, ooh, that's not good.
Yeah. There's some good copy paper out there, though. I remember
for sure.
Going to, I don't know, some office, and I was like, hey, can you print this for me? Because, something's going on with the printer. I pulled it out the printer. I said, oh, my God, this is a good piece of paper.
Yeah. There's some good paper. Yeah. You can get good paper, but usually copy paper, you think it's like really thin and it'll bleed through your pens and stuff. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think also because of all the sales that happen this time of year, it makes it more stressful to decide like what planner am I going to buy if you haven't already figured it out by now, because you've got all these different ones on sale, and then you're just like, oh, well, now they're more affordable, so let me go ahead and speaking of, it's like Aaron Condren sending me a text message.
Black Friday sale.
It's like, check your things. I already placed my order this morning, woman. Oh my gosh.
So you ain't got to worry about Aaron.
Yeah, I didn't buy a planner though. I got some notebooks. I got a couple things for the kids. But nice. They had like 35% off, and then there's these 20% off coupons floating around, so it ends up making it pretty good. And then they had a lot of things on sale, like 50-60% off. There was something I needed to buy. I actually had started in my cart the other day, and we went to my son's in band, and we went to a performance. The rules for like spectators, we had to have clear bags. So, because I didn't have a clear bag, I didn't bring any bags in with me. And it made me think, dang it, I need to get a clear bag. And I knew Erin Condren had some on their site. And I'm like, well, I'll add it to my cart for Black Friday, knowing at least everything will be 35% off. And then I have like an extra 20% off coupon. It'll be a good deal. Well, they already marked the bags down 50% off. So I was like, ooh, now I'm going to have 20% off of that. So I just got a really good deal on a clear bag. I'm so excited. And I'm not a bag person. I literally will use the same bag until it is broken, falling apart, and then I'll buy a new bag.
Yep.
And I'm like a one purse bag person. I don't have a different color for different outfits.
Yeah, I don't change my purse very often either.
You don't even carry a purse.
That was a joke, you guys. Feel like I had to explain that one. Guys, I'm a lesbian. I don't carry around a purse. I have pockets. That's honestly, that's why this is a random side note, but that's why I love guy pants, because guy pants have pockets. And I remember when I used to wear like skinny jeans, like girl jeans and stuff, they would look like they had pockets, but they never had pockets. That would upset me. Okay?
Oh, our pockets are so small.
Pretend that.
Oh yeah, it'll have a fake pocket.
Pockets, they're tiny. Fake
Jeggings,
pockets, man. What is up with that? Stop doing fake pockets. Jeez,
yeah.
I hope that's still not a thing. I thought some artist or whatever, was wearing like cargo pants or like, you know, some loose fitted pants. So I see like some looser pants out there with some big pockets on the side. I mean, good for you. It looks a little crazy, but I mean, hey, we got somewhere with pockets.
I think that's trending now. I think like loose baggy pants are trending again. I say again because like I remember when I was in like 97, maybe 98, it was like a thing, big baggy pants. I feel like.
Yeah, it was a little bit before me.
Yeah, that was definitely like before you.
Around that time. So I don't remember that.
Yeah.
At least I don't remember it being a style, like for me.
Yeah,
sorry, random side note.
That's okay. That's okay.
Moral of the story, get yourself a pair.
Yeah.
Or not.
There should be some Black Friday sale somewhere happening for that.
Yeah, there should be.
There should be.
Sales everywhere.
But like sometimes though, I spend I've gotten better about this over the years, especially because of like how many sales Erin Condren has. I've gotten so much better about like not looking at the sales section over and over and over again before I check out. It's like you go through it one time and you're like, I don't see anything, but let me just check one more time, and then let me check one more time. I think that's one of those things. I think that's one of those things about me. It's something I learned about myself a couple years ago, that I identify as a highly sensitive person, and apparently one of the traits of a highly sensitive person is like, I want to say indecision or an inability to make decisions, but that's not true. I mean, I can clearly make decisions. I have 4 kids. I made those decisions, but
yeah, you made that choice.
But
you walked into that one. Sorry.
But I have a hard time sometimes with like, because my brain, the way my brain works is my brain's like wanting to look at all the details of all the things before I decide. And so for me, it becomes like, I just need to see like 3 things, and then I'm gonna pick from the 3 things, because I see a whole bunch of items and then it's gonna take me forever, and I stress out about it because I think I need to pick like the perfect one that's gonna last me for the rest of my life. Because that's another thing too about me, is that I think this is part of like what we learned from our parents growing up, is like we didn't have parents that bought stuff and then when a new version came out, went and bought the next one. And like we use things until they're broken. Like my bedroom set over here, this is the only bedroom set I've ever had. And my husband and I have been...
Only one I've ever seen you have.
Yeah, and my husband and I have been together forever. I don't want to do math right now. It's too early. That couch too. Like that couch is 17 years old. Like the only like set.
Yep.
And it's like, I mean, it's a little bit rough now because we've had 4 kids, but it ain't broke. Don't fix it. So
yeah. I ain't broke. I'm the same
Yeah.
way. And going back to like making choices and stuff, I actually do the same thing. Um, Instead of looking at everything, I narrow it down. And I know that my wife does the same thing as far as she wants to know every detail about everything before she buys it, and she wants it to be perfect. It has to be the right one. She stresses about making decisions like that. And I just say, well, you know, what is it that you want out of whatever it is that you're going to buy? You know, so if it really just depends on what I'm buying for me. If it's something that I need quality wise, I'm going to pay more attention to the quality, and I'm just going to eliminate all of like the cheap options. So
Right.
let me see. Let's say I'm buying a battery, right? Car battery. I'm gonna buy something that's gonna last a while, something that's durable, because you kind of need a battery for your car. Like it's pretty
Right.
important to have a good battery, right? I'm not gonna get the cheapest battery unless I'm in a what's the word I'm looking for?
A pinch?
It's no. Mama's word for like a janky car. A hoopty?
A jalopy?
Jalopy. There it is. Unless I'm in a jalopy. I'm like, what's the word? Unless I'm in a jalopy and I need to take it from point A to point B, I would put a cheap battery in the car if that was the case, you know?
Right.
So like just narrow your options, you know, like do you want something that's more Christmas themed? Do you want something that has more space here, that has more space there, or whatever? Like when picking a planner, I just got a basic one because I just needed something from Monday through Friday? Yeah. Or like, you know, 7-day work week, maybe a few month, you know, laid out, and some notes in the back, and that's it. Like that's what I got. I got like a cheap $10 one, and it's been working fine for me. You know, like I narrowed down all of the other ones because I know that there's a lot of choices. Whenever I said, "Oh, I need a planner," I started looking up all these planners. I'm like, oh my God, look at all these choices. So I narrowed it down. I'm like, I just need something simple. So I narrowed it down to the simple ones. And that helped make my decision. And I was like, man, this one's cheap.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have prison paper, so we're good.
Yeah. That's what I think that's what makes like a lot of people in the community not have planner piece, is that with the overwhelming variety of options and choices that we have, and we can see because of the internet and Instagram, we can see everybody using all the different planners, and we can see how cool it looks when they use it a certain way, and then we think, oh, that would be so cool, I would like to use that too. And it's like we realistically can't use all the things all at once, and you like have to make a decision. And I think this kind of goes back to something that we had talked about, I think in one of our teasers, where we kind of aren't happy with the choices that we have in our own life because of the fact that we can see all the other options. And I've gotten a lot better about trying to think about when I'm making decisions. And if I start to feel myself stress out about picking something, I recognize it now. And that's like one of the first steps, is like recognizing that it's happening. And then I'm like immediately like, okay, how much time am I willing to dedicate to looking for the thing that I want? And I need to put a time limit. It's like I want to decide within like the next like 5 minutes. Yeah, it's like, oh, I need to decide in the next 5 minutes because I've got other things that I need to do. Like, is it really that important for me to? And also, a lot of things I've tried and think about is how it doesn't have to be like a permanent decision. Like, I'm not buying it's not like I'm buying a house. Clearly, I want to spend more time buying a house, like actually looking. But if I'm just buying a pair of socks or some underwear, like I don't need.
We stress out about the stupidest things. If you think about it,
I don't need to do that. Like I just pick a price point, pick one store to shop it at, and just buy it. Like you don't need to look at all the different options and all the things, because then
there was something that you said, like. You didn't say it's not going to last forever, but you said something like that.
I said it's not permanent.
It's not permanent. Okay. Let me just like say something about this, because I've changed my mindset about just, I guess, things in general. Things that happen, things that I have, things that I want, stuff like that, right? I've changed my mindset about them, and it is that nothing lasts forever. Literally nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not attached. So I was reading about like Buddhism and stuff like that, and they don't believe in getting attached, getting emotionally attached, and I guess physically attached, getting emotionally attached to items, things, feelings, people, all of that. Being here is an experience, pretty much. You know, you experience, you let it go. You experience something, you let it go. Oh, you're in love? Okay, let it go, because it doesn't last forever. You know what I mean? So I've been thinking about that, and it's been helping with little decisions also. You know, like, does it really matter if I turn this way or that way on the road? You know what I mean? Because I can just find my way back anyways. You know? Like, I'm stressing about turning left or right on a road when either way I turn, I still get to my destination.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I've stopped stressing about a lot of decisions that I've been making, and it's because nothing is permanent. Things change, you know, circumstances change, and they can change at any moment, you know? So why would I stress about a decision that I can just change my mind tomorrow and then everything will be okay? You know what I mean? Like that's been helping me a lot, thinking about how I've been making my decisions, you know, and is it really important? Like, should I really stress about it? Like, come on, why am I getting attached to this decision? You know, should I be attached to this decision? Unless it's something like really important, I'll attach myself to the situation. You know, like, I'm emotionally invested in this situation, ain't no turning back now. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that I do that all the time. I'm not saying that I'm completely heartless. But with certain decisions, I've been thinking about it as in, like, does this really matter? You know?
Yeah, it's like,
am I going to be okay if I make a crazy decision? Am I making sense?
You are. There's varying degrees of decision making, I guess. Sort of like how there's varying, I don't know what it is. I can't remember who created this, but there's this thing where, like, with productivity and like creating a to-do list where you can break it down into, instead of it just being like one long to-do list, you kind of section it off into like what's urgent, what like needs to happen like immediately, and like, you know what I'm talking about? And so I think the same thing with decision making, there's like varying levels where it's like, this requires like a little bit more, like this is like the priority level of decision makings. And then this is like at the bottom. Like deciding what bar of soap I'm going to buy is probably at the bottom. Like as long as you just get a bar of soap, it doesn't matter. Make sure you take showers.
Yeah, I think I learned that technique. I'm trying to think. 2018, 2019. I think I learned that skill because I was just starting to like write things out in my book. And I would put a star next to things that need to get done that day. Because I told you how I would have like my list and everything was on my list for that day.
Right.
And it wasn't split up into different days or nothing. It was just, this is what I got going on. And I would write the date. You know, this is today's date. This is still on my to-do list. And if it was something that had to get done that day, I would put a star next to it. And I would do this at the end of each day. That way, when I came in the morning the next day, I can open my book and I can see what do I have to get done today, what has a star on it, and what can get pushed to like later on in the day. So if I get, you know, 3 things done that have a star on it, okay, everything that I needed to get done for today was done. And if I'm just like physically and mentally exhausted, I'm not even going to touch everything else. But if I'm motivated and I got to, you know, get started or get ahead with other things, then I'll keep going. I'll keep pushing through. But separating priority was bomb.
Yeah.
Because I was able to do so much stuff and get so much stuff done by prioritizing. And I was freaking killing it. Not gonna lie. Not trying to toot my own horn, but beep beep.
Right. Exactly. There's nothing more satisfying than knowing that the things that you absolutely needed to get done got done. And even if you have like a ton of more things like on that list that you didn't get to, at least for me, I've done a lot better about not feeling bad if I don't get to them, especially like you said, if you've accomplished those other things that absolutely needed to get done and you just don't have any more, you don't have it in you anymore. You can only give what you can only give so much, and then you have to reach a point where you have to refuel. And so that's when you have to take a step back and be like, okay,
What's
what
that
are the
thing Mama
self-care
says?
things? What did she say?
I think it's it's Mama who says it. There's no such thing as giving 110%.
I'm not sure, but yeah.
I don't remember who said that, but I've heard that somewhere, that there's no such thing as giving 110%. And that's the perfect example where
there was
you've done
something
what you've done and you're just
yeah.
completely exhausted. Like, sometimes
You can only do
just
so
gotta
much.
stop.
I
Yeah,
think
you can
there
only do
was
so much.
something floating around where it's similar to that what you said about like 110%, where let's say, I think it said something like if you're 100%, like if today all you have is 40% and you give 40%, then that was your 100%. I was like, wow, that's kind of like what I've been doing anyway, is I've been
accurate.
taking like
That's way
each
more
day
accurate.
each day I kind of assess what my what my energy level is for that day. And there are definitely some days where I do not want to get anything done. And then there's definitely days where I'm like, I've got this get it done attitude and I knock a whole bunch of stuff done. And for me, that typically happens, not to be all TMI or anything, but about like a week before my menstrual period starts, that's when I start feeling like I got to get stuff done. And then usually,
Super productive.
yep, usually a couple days before my actual cycle begins, I start to feel more tired and and like I feel like I need to pump the brakes. And that's when I know, okay, it's coming and I need to like, usually that I might feel like cleaning, but I usually don't feel like doing anything like mentally, mental exertion. I usually might feel like cleaning, but that's about it. And then when I'm on it, I do not allow myself to try and do all the things because it's just not happening. And I don't feel bad about it at all, because I've learned that if I think about my productivity cycle as like an entire month instead of every day, in the entire month, I get a lot of stuff done. I get a lot done. And it just feels like I'm being a lazy bomb some days. But some days I do a lot and then other days I don't. And if you were to average it out, I feel like it ends up working out.
No, that phrase that you said was pretty accurate with giving, like, say you have 40% for the day and you give 40% and that's your 100%. Like, I actually really like that, that saying. I don't even remember. You got to write that down for me and send it to me. But one thing that I've learned is when it comes to something like that, like say you have to get something done and you just like really don't feel like it. There's a time and
sometimes you have to.
Yourself.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to get stuff done.
Sometimes you have to. You just got to do it. But I've realized that there's a time and place for it.
Yeah.
There's a time to push yourself to the limit to get whatever it is done that you need to get done, and then there's a time to pause for a second and say, hey, are you okay? Like, you've done a lot, let's calm down for a second. You know what I mean? There is a time to just stop and reflect and take care of yourself. You don't have to do everything all at once and then or all day. You don't have to do like 10 things every day. Like, just calm down. Like, watch a movie. Like, just go watch a movie.
I think a lot of times though, there's this fear. Well, I don't know if it's fear, but there's almost a sense of failure or I'm not saying this right. Okay. What I'm trying to say is blah, blah, blah.
That's what it was.
There's this thing that happens where we feel like we can't do that self-care activity until we accomplish XYZ. We almost like punish ourselves and are like, we start to realize we feel tired, we feel a little run down, we feel like we need a break. But we're like, but I don't want to do that until I do this, this, and this. Now, obviously, sometimes you have to do that thing because sometimes we're under deadlines and there are things that have to happen. But we need to take that moment to be like, is this something that really absolutely has to happen? And then sometimes it can be enough like to where, yes, maybe you're still on deadline and you've got lots of time, you still can do it, but you do need a break. And you can like take like a 5-minute pause and just take a 5-minute pause and allow yourself that before you continue, so that you aren't completely like pushing through all that exhaustion. But
I was talking to a member the other day about, well, first of all, she mentioned self-care to me first, which I thought was kind of like the stars aligning, you know, since we're starting this. And she literally said self-care. So I thought that was weird. Anyways, so we were talking about, you know, little doses here and there. So I was reading, you know, you guys know I'm in college, right? Or at least I feel like I've said it enough times. So I was reading in my textbook, and it said how 30 minutes a day for exercise doesn't have to be 30 minutes all at once. It could be 10 minutes in the morning. It can be 10 minutes at night, and it could be 10 minutes during your lunch break. So I was trying to tell her, because she was telling me how busy her schedule was and how, you know, she can't come into the gym because of her crazy schedule. And I'm like, look, I get it, okay? If you wake up in the morning, like I said, just try this. Wake up in the morning and do 10 minutes of whatever kind of exercise that you want. You can just walk around, you can stretch, you can do push-ups, you can do squats, you know, do some sit-ups, something. Just for 10 minutes, and that's it. Once your 10 minutes is done, say, all right, I'm done. Screw this. And then just keep going, you know?
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, I said, what's the first thing that you do whenever you come home? I said, try doing 10 minutes of exercise, you know? Tell the kids, like, hey, don't bother me for 10 minutes. You know, and just do your thing. Ooh. Drop
Mike Phil.
Makeville. Do your thing for, you know, 10 minutes and then you're done. You know, no more than 10 minutes. That's it. And then I said, just pick 5 minutes throughout the day for you. Whenever you feel tense, whenever you feel stressed or something, just go for a walk for 5 minutes. I said, go to the bathroom or something, you know, and she's like, oh, I could walk to the furthest bathroom. I was like, there you go. Walk to the furthest bathroom and then walk back. You know, just take that 5 minutes to yourself, you know, and going back to like what we were talking about, like you can't do everything all at once. And sometimes you just need a break. You know, sometimes all you need is 5 minutes is to just walk away, take a deep breath, go to the bathroom, clear your mind, and then come back. And you're probably going to be more productive than you were before you left to go to the bathroom. Yeah, I mean, it's that simple, but we're just so in tune with what we have going on, and we're so stressed with what we have in front of us and what's in our head that we don't think that we have time to take a break. We can't register time. I read somewhere that the brain does not recognize time. Like the brain doesn't comprehend time. I've read that somewhere. Time is it's something that we just kind of like labeled for the sake of like doing stuff. You know, I read that somewhere. I'm not saying it's true. I swear I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I'm just saying time exists. Okay, yes, time exists. But I mean, like you talking like about that when we're so stressed, when we're stressed, we don't register time. Like we don't actually see how much time that we have because we're living in our head, and our head doesn't understand time. You know, I don't know if I'm explaining that right. I read that somewhere.
It sounds where, but I don't know if I've read that before, but I know that when we get in the zone, there's this like thing that happens when you're completely focused on a task and you can get lost in it for a very, very long time. You're like in the flow state. That's what it's called. What happens is our body kind of shuts down things that aren't related to like us mentally focusing on whatever it is we're doing. And I say that because I know that it'll like shut down hunger cues. And this is why like you'll hear these stories of people playing video games for hours and hours and hours and then like dying because they forgot to stop to eat. They forgot to stop to go to the bathroom. Like they got so like sucked into it. And I think that might be related to what you're talking about, where like our mind has no concept of time, because I myself have had this happen where, you know, I get so focused and I'm like so like into a task, and then when I'm done with it, I pull out and I'm like, ooh, I'm hungry. Like, when was the last time I ate? And I realize it's been too long since I ate. And it's like, while I was in it, like my body was not. It happens, and so I believe if since it happens with the hunger cues, I'm sure it probably like you said, your mind probably just gets lost in the time, and you don't you lose track of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, I would love for someone to explain that to me, preferably a psychologist. I've always found psychology very interesting. You know, the way the brain works, the way we think, why we think things, the way that we do. You know, I've always found it very interesting. And I would love for someone to explain like the concept of time in our mind. I would love for
Like
someone
how we
to explain
process
that
it.
to me.
That would be interesting to find out about.
Yeah, how we process it. Yeah, like
Hey,
how does
have you ever
how does our brain register time? Now
What?
I remember our brain, that the power of now. That's where I read it. Your brain can't comprehend the present. That's what it was.
Okay, I
Your
read that
brain
book
only
too, but
thinks
it
in
was a
future
really
and
long
past
time ago.
tense. Now I remember.
Okay.
Yep. So your brain can think about the future, right? I got this going on. I got that going on. I got XYZ going on, right?
You can think about the
And
past.
then you think, oh, last time I did that, this, and this happened, right?
Right.
But your brain has a hard time understanding what's going on right now. So that's why with meditation, we bring our awareness to our body, to our breath, and we try to bring ourselves to the present moment to relax our minds, because our minds are either in the future or in
the
the
past.
past.
Yeah.
Now I remember.
Okay.
I'm so proud of
that
myself.
makes sense.
I'm like, where is this coming from? You know, I'm like, where are these thoughts coming from? It was from that book, The Power of
Yeah.
Now. Definitely.
I have to reread.
Eckhart
I'll have to
Tolle,
reread.
I think is his name.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to reread it because I read it I think back in 2016 when I was starting my whole learning all the stuff, and I read some yoga books and learned about the connection between stress and our bodies, and basically how stress manifests in our body as
does.
pain, and yoga helps to kind of release it. In that time, I was learning a lot about things that I could do to help reduce stress, because what happens, I talked about in the very beginning of the episode, the light switch thing. We get stuck in a stressed state. There's the parasympathetic nervous system and then the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is the one that's the stressed one. It's the one where you're you have to, be on because there are things happening. You have to be alert. You have to be ready. It's almost like saber-tooth tigers coming, right? And then there's the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the relaxed state, which is very important because when our body is stuck in the sympathetic nervous system state, the stressed state, like I mentioned earlier about how when you're really focused and zoned in, your body doesn't give you those cues of hunger. It's the same thing where your body doesn't do its restorative things. So in order for your body to do the normal restorative things that it needs to do, your body has to be in a parasympathetic, in a relaxed state. It's almost impossible if your body is stuck in that stress state. And it can get stuck in that stress state because even if you don't feel like you're actively in a stressed moment, you can just be sitting there watching TV,
You totally
not
are.
doing anything, and you still can be stuck in a stressed state. And you're thinking, oh, I'm doing relaxing thing. Yeah, but what happens is because you've been in a stress state for so long, you've accumulated a ton of cortisone, which is a stress hormone in your body. Your body hasn't fully flushed it all out. And so your adrenals are working hard. And again, I'm not a doctor. This is just the things that I have learned. You can look at all this stuff up. Promise. And
Yeah. I actually just read about this. We were talking about it earlier. So in one of my textbooks,
which class?
there's a section. This is one of my kinesiology classes. I can't remember the name of it, but we talk about diseases, chronic diseases, how they happen, how to prevent them, what are the risk factors, stuff like that. It's pretty much the main point of the class. But there was a section on cardiovascular disease. And this chapter is, I want to say, intriguing for me because Daddy got 2 stents put in. So I was curious as far as why did he get those? What causes that? Where did that come from? So I was actually paying attention to the chapter. I actually read the chapter. But there was a section.
Good job.
And it was on, I know, I'm a smart one. So there's a section on mental well-being, and it links stress to cardiovascular disease. So people that have been exposed to chronic stress it's directly linked to cardiovascular disease. So hang on, I'm going to read just this little part right here, because I printed it out and I highlighted it and everything. And I was like, this is great, because I knew that this was a thing. I knew that being stressed and being in that state, it's not good for your health. I know that whenever I'm constantly stressed, I'm more prone to being sick. It literally lowers your immune system whenever you are constantly stressed.
Doesn't it like black
and white?
I think it like constricts your blood flow, correct? Like when you're stressed out, like something shrinks so that it can pump more blood to your heart. I think that's why it affects your cardiovascular health. Like when you're stressed out, that might be because your heart rate will go up, and I'm thinking when your heart rate's up, like your blood flow is like constricted a little bit. I think that, I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But stress causes the release of stress hormones. When persistent and pervasive, the continuous circulation of these hormones in the blood increases blood pressure and heart rate and triggers the release of cholesterol and triglycerides into the blood. All of these changes may promote the development of atherosclerosis. That's the hardening of like the artery walls, and you can also like that can also happen to your heart. So like the hardening of the muscles, like you know what I'm talking about. I just learned this. So like your vein walls, they can get hardened because they're supposed to be nice and flexible to let the blood go through, but the cholesterol will build up on the sides, causing it to get stiff. That's that A word, at the atherosclerosis. There we go. And for those with atherosclerosis, increase vulnerability to heart attack or stroke. CVD.
Yeah.
So
I looked it up. The
exposed to stress.
Mayo Clinic says that our body releases a surge of hormones when we're under stress, and those hormones cause the heart to beat faster and the blood vessels to narrow. These actions increase blood pressure. So, there you go.
Yep. There you go. You wonder why you have high blood pressure? It's probably because you're stressed. And that you're thinking too much about everything. But no, here, adults with exposure to chronic violence, financial instability, or stress at work, such as job insecurity or high demand job with low control over schedule or duties, are at increased risk of CVD. So if any of this like applies to you, I mean, you should probably be doing some kind of self-care, in my opinion, because I know that I did. I mean, okay, how do I say this? I did live with constant stress. My last job was very demanding. I struggled with it for maybe the first few months that I started because, it was a new assignment. I was getting everything set up. After a while, I had everything set up and I was like, you know what? I got this. It was still stressful. So when I realized that I was being obsessive, I think, because I get like that. When I realized I was being obsessive with my job because I wanted everything to be perfect, right? Because I'm a perfectionist.
I don't think obsessive is the right.
I was stressing myself out.
Perfectionism, attention to detail. I was
stressing myself out, and I realized that I wasn't in a good place because of it. So I just started taking breaks. I was like, you know what? I can't keep doing this. I'm just gonna chill for a second. And it's a good thing that I had the coworkers that I did at the time, because all of them told me, like, dude, relax, like, calm down, like, this job is not that serious, like, you're doing great. You know? I mean, it was a serious job, like, but at the same time, they really helped me realize that there are just some things that are out of your control and you just got to deal with it. And one day at a time, you'll be all right. They helped me with that mindset that I have now. Yeah,
definitely. Did you ever see that show on Disney Plus, Limitless, with Chris Hemsworth?
It was a show?
Yeah, it's like a series. I think it's like 6 episodes. It's kind of like a documentary.
I don't think so.
You should totally watch it.
I saw a movie called Limitless.
No, it's a show. I think you might be right. There might be a movie that's kind of called the same thing. But this one is... Hold on, girl. This show with Chris Hemsworth is like him doing like different things, different trials and challenges to understand the limits of the human body. And the first episode, he talks about stress and how he's like basically like an anxious person. And I was like, wow, this is like kind of crazy to see this side of him. And I definitely recommend that episode to anybody who, you know, if you're a fan of him, and it'll help bring home the concept, I guess, of stress, because they explain in there, there's like some medical professional person that talks to him and walks him through challenges. And that first one, he has to walk across this like skyscraper. No, not walk across a skyscraper. He has to walk out on like a crane and like walk out. No, not a tightrope. Like walk out on the arm of this crane, like really far out from the building. And so he is put through challenges to help train his body to handle stress so that he can remain calm when he's up there. And it's so cool because they like monitor his heart rate and all this stuff. And they put him through a bunch of challenges before leading up to it so that he can be prepared. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And I feel like
he's crazy.
I know, I couldn't do that. The same way that like, obviously that's an extreme thing, what he did in the show. The main bottom line is basically that there are things that we can do in our life to train ourselves to handle stress better so that when we do hit those stressful moments, we are a little bit more prepared and we're not all like freaking out and like having anxiety attacks and things like that. So one of the things that I know for me has worked a lot is yoga. And I know a lot of people think, okay, yoga, that sounds like exercise. And yes, it's a little bit exercise, but more so, I feel like it's more of a mental thing, mental exercise, because the connection between the body poses and our mind is that sometimes we do poses that are a little bit challenging. And normally when we are in a challenging situation, we hold our breath. And we are encouraged to make sure you breathe through those poses that you're holding, those difficult poses, like you feel like your thighs are on fire or whatever. And the idea is like to mentally tell yourself, I'm okay, I'm safe, I can get through this. And that's what you're doing on the mat.
Yeah.
So you're training yourself over and over again. And if you do a daily yoga practice, then it can be like 5 to 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be like 30, 40-minute class every single day. But if you just do it every single day, at some point in your real life, you'll experience a stressful moment. And I promise to God it'll happen because it happened to me multiple times. You'll experience a normal real life event, and you won't react the same way. And you will have a moment where you'll be like, who the heck am I? How come I didn't freak out? And basically what it boils down to is this. Me and my son came up with this like analogy once where imagine a sink and you turn on the faucet. The action of turning on the faucet is your stress, okay? So when you have put into place these practices that help retrain your body to handle stress better, instead of the faucet being on for a long period of time and filling up the sink, it turns off sooner. When you experience stress, it'll eventually turn off, right? But here's the thing.
That's a good analogy.
With stress, those hormones stay in your body and it takes a little while for you to come off of it. You ever had those moments where you're in an adrenaline situation and you're shaking? Well, it takes time for that adrenaline to come down. And that's what that is. It's the stress. So imagine you turned on the faucet, and because of the whatever practice you did to retrain your brain to turn it off sooner, there's less water in the sink. So that means when you pull the drain, it takes less time for you to come down. And so you're back to your normal self faster. So that's basically how it goes. That's basically what I've experienced in my life. And I feel like that's definitely something that would happen to many people. And if I ask a bunch of yogis, like if that has been their experience, they probably would tell me the same thing.
Yeah.
I think it'll happen probably with meditation too.
I've noticed with you that you handle stress a lot differently now. Honestly, you're a completely different person ever since you've been doing yoga. I think that it took a while though after you started doing yoga, and I think that you mentioned how you were doing it a little bit, like a few times a week, and then you start doing
Right.
it every day. I think that when you started doing it every day, that's when I really started to see a difference.
That was when. Yep.
It was strange, and I think you know, because I guess my reaction to your non-reaction was like, "Who are you? You know, why did you freak out just now?" Yeah. And it was ridiculous, night and day. You're just a completely different person. And I think that for me, ever since I joined the military, my response to stress has been different. Now I'm just like, meh, whatever. I didn't die. Like, I'm fine. You know, like if anything happens, just like, okay, how am I going to fix it? What just happened? What's going on? You know, like I just think very solution oriented when something crazy happens. You know, it immediately goes to, how do I fix this? But I don't recommend joining the military just for the sake of getting better at handling stress. I 10 out of 10 don't recommend joining just for that. That's not
right.
I mean, it helped me. Yeah, it helped me, and it can help other people. But I mean, there's a mindset that comes with it that's not for everybody. But honestly, in my opinion, it's a good mindset to have, and that mindset is just like you're gonna be fine. Like, get over it, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly what
when it comes to stress and like a stressful situation. Like, just do it. First of all, do what you're told, and just get through it, and you'll be fine. And another thing is like trusting the process. I've learned to trust the process, and I think that that's something that everybody can benefit from, as far as trusting the process. So I've learned something. I call it trusting the universe. I put my thoughts out there, right? I thank the universe for all of the blessings and everything that I have in my life, and I pretty much say I leave the rest to you, universe. You know, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Thank you. I feel great. I leave the rest to you because you've held it down. You know, like you had my back up until now. I don't doubt that you're going to have my back, you know, later on. And it's the same thing with, I guess, somebody who's religious, like, you know, let go and trust God, or let go and, you know, just believe, you know, whatever it is that you do believe. For me, it's the universe. I let go to the universe and I say, thank you for everything. And I trust the process because I know you have my back. You've been had my back, you know, keep doing your thing, universe. Good for you. And it's helped with realizing that I can't control everything, because not everything is in your control. You know, I trust the universe with everything that I have no control over, because I have no business having control over, you know, the weather or how my professor's going to feel tomorrow or something like that. You know, I trust the universe though, you know, and that's kind of what I mean by trust the process. At least that's how I've been trusting the process now. And that's helped with a lot of unnecessary stress that I had been bringing to myself because I was worried about stuff that I couldn't control. So I let the universe handle that. It's out of my hands.
Definitely a good mindset to have. I think if anybody like watching this wants like one takeaway, for me, I think it would be that if you can just do this one thing, I think it'll make a difference. Is next time you experience some kind of stressful moment and you know, like, okay, this is something that's stressful. I can feel myself, you know, stressing out about this thing. If you just try and like speak to yourself these words, like, I am safe, it's going to be okay. I'm safe, it's going to be okay. And the reason I say that is because our bodies kind of really haven't evolved to the stresses of today, of modern ways. And we still have that saber-toothed tiger type thing in us, where when we do experience like something stressful, where it's like today, it could be just scrolling online and seeing something that triggers something and it makes you like, you know, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Our body still responds the same way as if there was something chasing us. So by saying to yourself, I'm safe, it's okay, you're doing what I was explaining earlier, is you're helping to turn that faucet off sooner, because you're telling yourself, I'm safe. Like, I physically am not in any danger. And that's really what the whole stress thing is about. It's supposed to be like helping to protect us and to keep us safe and to prevent us from dying. I mean, if you can say that too, it's like, I'm not dying. Like, I don't need to like
say that. But did you die?
Did you die? I'm not dying.
You die? Yeah.
I say that to the kids all the time. They'll come and be like, "Oh, I bumped my head. Oh, I scratched. Oh, I'm bleeding." I'm like, "Are you dying? You're not dying. Okay. Calm down. You're fine."
I guess I'll tell a story on what did you die. So I was in boot camp. Here we go. I'm telling a boot camp story. Sorry. That's a Marine joke. Everybody talks about boot camp stories. Like, it doesn't matter what you got boot camp stories to tell. So boot camp story. We were doing some kind of obstacle course. Can't remember what it was. And it was towards the end. And my drill instructor said, hop on the bar. I think she asked me to do pull-ups. Hop on the bar, do, some pull-ups or something. And the bar was wet. And I looked at the bar. And I looked at her. And she said, get on the bar. So I got on the bar. And before I got on the bar, she commented, she's like, what, are you afraid you're going to slip and fall or something? I said, no, ma'am. So I got on the bar and I slipped and I fell on my butt. Well, I didn't fall on my butt. I actually fell flat on my back because I fell backwards. I fell flat on my back. I didn't use a proper brake fall and I got the wind knocked out of me for a good few seconds. And she came up to me and she said, but did you die? I said, no, ma'am. That was fine. I just fell. That's all it was. I fell. And there was, mulch that was there, so it wasn't too hard of a fall, and it was, 3 feet off the ground, so yeah, it was all right.
You know what? Now that
and then I hopped on the second time, and the water was gone because I already slipped it all off.
Yeah. Now that you tell that story, it's kind of making me rethink the whole purpose of boot camp, because tying it back to what we were talking about earlier about how like yoga helps to retrain your body to think, like you can handle the stress in real life. That's exactly what boot camp is doing too. It's like mentally preparing you. Like it's putting you through these physical challenges so that you can like tell yourself in your head, like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And so that whenever you do experience stress in real life, whether that be like in the battlefield or whatever the heck mission is that you guys get put on, you basically get, because you were trained, like you basically go into that space and you're able to complete it faster because there is no time for no freaking outs because errors will be made and things like that. Not. So yeah. Yep. Wow. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I realized that that's what it was. Maybe not during. During, I was just hating life. I'll be honest.
Oh yeah. During, I don't think.
Though. I would totally go back in a heartbeat just because, I don't know. Like I would do it all over again. I'm just crazy. As the recruit, people will be like, oh, would you go back, to boot camp? Like, oh, I'd go back as a drill instructor. Like, man, I'd go back as a recruit in a heartbeat, if I'm being honest. Like, I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago, but now that I'm out and I'm like, then I'll do it again. I'm just crazy because the stuff that we do it's honestly really cool in my opinion, and it's a humbling experience, honestly. And whenever I say that phrase, like I'm not that young, like life slapped me in the face already, or if I say, life hasn't slapped you in the face yet or something like that, I think that being in the military definitely is the reason why I have that mindset. I kind of forgot where I was going with that.
That's okay. All right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap up this first episode. If you want to share in the comments your biggest takeaways, we'd love to hear them. And anything else you want to say, Lexus, to any last thoughts?
Yeah, actually, stress sucks. Everybody deals with it, and everybody deals with it differently. Just don't feel alone, okay? Never feel alone because everybody deals with stress. And also, don't feel like you're a weirdo for handling stress the way that you do, because everybody handles stress differently. Me, I don't eat, and people wonder why I'm so skinny. Well, it's the way that I handle stress. So what are you gonna do? So just don't feel like a weirdo. Honestly, everybody's a weirdo, so just embrace your weirdness and you'll be all right.
We're just a bunch of weirdos up in here.
Yeah. Just a bunch of weirdos. It's fine. You guys, you won't die. You'll be all right,